Thanks for tuning in to Teach Me ABA. Today we're going to talk about ABA, where it came from, and what we believe as behavior analysts. Behaviorism is the belief that a science of behavior is possible. So, whereas people used to believe that the stars were controlled by Greek gods that were moving things around, and that was debunked by science, B.F. Skinner, Pavlov, Watson, and other scientists also discovered that the science of behavior is possible, which negates the need for mentalistic explanations. Much like before science of the solar system was discovered and people believed that Greek gods were moving around the stars and the planets, we no longer need mentalistic explanations for behavior because we now know that the environmental variables in a person's history is what controls their current behavior. So for example, when somebody is using a mentalistic explanation of behavior, they may see a child throwing a tantrum in the store and say, oh, he's doing that because he's mad. A behaviorist would look at the reason why he's mad. What's causing that anger? So the reason that behavior analysts don't look to evaluate emotions, but rather evaluate the cause and effect relationship of behavior is because we're actually able to adjust the environment in order to prevent these behaviors from happening. And when they do happen, we're able to respond in a certain way that makes it less likely to happen in the future. So, going back to the scenario that I presented about the child throwing a tantrum in the grocery store, let's break this down from a behaviorist perspective. First, the environment controls behavior. The environment and behavior have a cause and effect relationship to one another. In other words, the environment affects behavior, but a person's behavior also has certain effects on the environment. So, yes, this child may be upset, but there's something in the environment that caused that child to be upset and throw a tantrum in this scenario. If we look into the circumstances that happened around the time of the tantrum, we can likely find clues as to why these behaviors happened. Second, behavior leads to changes in the environment. So what happens when a child throws a tantrum in the grocery store? Their parents are likely embarrassed. The effect that the child's behavior has on the parent likely leads the parent to respond to a certain way to that child's behavior. So there are two factors that need to be present prior to behaviors occurring. The first is motivation, and the second is what behavior analysts call discriminative variables. When thinking about motivation, we can think about how much somebody is willing to work for a specific thing. That'll show us how motivated they are for that thing. Or, in other words, how much that specific item functions as a reinforcer in that moment. It's important to look at how motivation controls behavior because if we know what somebody wants at a particular moment, then we can adjust things in the environment so that they have a more appropriate way of accessing that thing that they're motivated for. Discriminative variables refer to when something is present in the environment, which make other things more likely to occur when we act a certain way. For example, when I'm hungry, I would go to a refrigerator because I have a history of knowing that food is there. There may not be food in the refrigerator right now, but since I've had food from the refrigerator in the past, then I'm likely to go there if I'm hungry right now. That's what a discriminative variable is. It doesn't necessarily signal that something is there, but it's been likely in the past. Back to our example of the child having a tantrum in the grocery store, the child may see candy in the grocery store, and because in the past his parents have given him that candy when he's screaming, he will likely scream right now if he wants candy. The combination of his parents and the candy being present, that's the discriminative variable, and seeing the candy, which probably leads to him wanting it, is what is driving his behavior of having a tantrum. Further, we need to look at how an individual's behavior leads to changes in their environment. For example, the child's tantrum may lead to his parents to be embarrassed, or maybe they just can't stand that shrill sound that he makes when he's upset. This would lead to them rewarding his behavior so that he stops it in that moment. This will teach him that tantruming in the grocery store leads to him getting things that he wants and will make it more likely that he'll do it in the future. So, overarching behaviorism is based on looking at what happens before and after a behavior and how it drives that behavior both currently, it evokes it, it causes it to happen right now in the moment, and also how it makes it more or less likely to happen in the future. So we see by this cause and effect relationship that behavior doesn't happen because of magical emotions. It's not driven by the Greek gods. It's really driven by what's happening in our environment and what we've contacted in the past. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel, Teach Me ABA, to keep up with more into the specifics of why behavior happens.